So now the big announcement, which is, I'll show you what it is. Anyway, before we start, I want to go over the mission of the church. So you guys know why Bishop Yusuf started the American Coptic Orthodox churches. It was a specific reason in mind. He saw that there was a disparity between converts coming into the church, so American people converting to Orthodoxy, or anyone converting to Orthodoxy that maybe isn't familiar with the Coptic Church, but also American-raised Copts themselves. So immigration from Egypt and the Coptic Church started 50, 60 years ago. People started coming in under Pope Kyrillos and Pope Shenouda and now Pope Tewodros. And initially the church came along with Egyptian culture. So it was the Egyptian culture plus the actual faith, the Orthodox faith. Of course, the faith is what's important. Not everything in the Egyptian culture is needed in the church. Not everything is bad, not everything is good, of course. But Bishop Yusuf saw, or now Metropolitan Yusuf, he realized that the disparity was kind of growing bigger and bigger, and people that maybe were raised in America, maybe they didn't fit in, or if they were in interracial marriage, maybe their spouses didn't fit in, or their kids didn't fit in. And so he wanted to create these churches that have American culture, but the Orthodox faith, the Church of Alexandria. So it's the Coptic Church of Alexandria with American culture. So how would he do that? He provided, it's churches that provide an always welcoming and loving environment in a language that is common to everyone. So it separates faith and culture. We focus on the Orthodox faith, but not necessarily a specific culture. And if you think about it, these are actually the future churches in America. These are the churches that are going to last. Now we have, a church in Dallas, a church in Houston, Nashville, Atlanta, 2 in Florida. They're going to start one more in Tampa. And every big city has one of these churches. But if you think about it, 50 years from now or 100 years from now, every city is going to have several of these churches. Like now we have St. Marina, Dallas. In a few years, God willing, we'll have a second and a third and a fourth American Orthodox church. So we're always going to have both. We're always going to have newcomers and people that want the traditional church with Coptic and Arabic, of course. But then this is going to be another branch of churches that's going to get bigger and bigger. So St. Marina specifically, we were founded, of course, in the summer of 2018 under Bishop Yusuf and Father Maximus, who's now Bishop Gregory. Once the church was established, we were able to find a central location within a couple of weeks. News started spreading fast, and eventually in June of 2018, a liturgy was celebrated under the name of St. Marina. So that was the first time ever. And then after Abuna Maximus became Bishop Gregory, there were a lot of visiting priests, and then the fall of 2022, you guys were stuck with me. But now, the most important part, the future home. So now we have everything we need. All we need is a permanent place. And we have a potential place. I mentioned it to a few people last week. And our 3 options, by the way, are we can rent, which is what we're currently doing now. We pay money to this church to rent it every week. The second option would be we can lease a place, but that's money being thrown down the drain. It's a good option. It could convert us to a Sunday church. So it's an option that we have, of course. And then the third option is we can purchase, and that's what we're looking into now. So the potential building that we're looking at is in Louisville, very South Louisville, bordering Capel. It's only a few minutes away from here, and it's right off 35 and 121. So it's very, very central. Coming from St. Pulpitier, it would only be about 22 minutes, and coming from St. Mary, it's about 18 to 20 minutes. So about 20 minutes from each. So the location is amazing. It really doesn't get any better than that. It's a credit union of Texas. So it's like a bank. It has drive-through lanes and so on. Which we said we could, if COVID returns, we can use drive-through communion. It sits on 3.26 acres, 10,000 square feet. So to give you an idea, St. Mary, Colleyville, with the church and the lobby and the bathrooms, I think that's about 7,000 to 8,000 square feet. So 10,000 square feet is a very good size. Of course, we're going to use part of it for the fellowship hall. And the sides, it's lined with offices on the right side and the left side. So we're going to have those, obviously, as Sunday school classrooms, a baptistry room in the back. There's an office that we can convert into a cry room with windows. So 10,000 square feet, 3.2 acres. That's more than enough space to last us for years. It has over 100 parking spots. It was constructed in 1999, and that's actually a good thing for banks, because banks now, everything is digital, so they build them a lot smaller. They need less of a footprint. They have less drive-through lanes, less employees, and they don't need space for storage, paper storage, because everything is digital now. So that this was built in 1999, that's actually a good thing, because it was built as a very large bank, which is good for us. And it's a high ceiling, much higher than this, and it's long and narrow, so it looks like a church. So speaking to architects and a lot of people that understand a lot about this stuff and have done repurposing before for buildings, they said this would be a very easy repurposing. It kind of looks like a church. Only within a few months we can have it looking like a church. So here's the location on the map, Louisville. This is what it currently looks like. And I know it's hard to see. I'm going to email this PowerPoint out just so you guys can see. But you can see that it's lined with offices up there and down there. So you enter in through the right side here. There's the front entry, the lobby, and then the office area. And in the back, that's where the tellers and the break room is. So for us, and it's actually already facing the east. So for us, we would still enter in this way, and then the altar would be on this side and in the east direction. And all the offices we can use for Sunday school buildings, Sunday school rooms, of course. This is a layout that Mr. Oliver made for us, and you can see, if you can read that in the middle, it says 385 seats. It's almost 400 people. Like same area and same floor material, roughly 450. So this is, a huge church, and even in the back, we would have room to have a fellowship hall. This is a kind of reverse direction, so going from left to right now. So this is just like potentially what it could look like. It's not the exact rendering, but we can add bell towers to make it look like a Coptic church. We can add domes, do some nice landscaping. So even though it looks like this currently, this is what it can look like, something similar to this. The inside, it's a very tall ceiling, so we can round it out and make it maybe look something similar to this. So it's definitely going to look like a Coptic church. Now the problem is we need the financing. So to just give you a history, last year we were bringing in tithes of about $10,000 per month. This year we're around $17,000 per month on average. To secure a loan and to be able to make our monthly payments, if we were to get this building, we would need about $40,000 per month. So more than double what we're currently doing. It's listed for $4 million. We have money saved, and we obviously want to raise more money to put down as a down payment, but then we would still need roughly a $3 million loan. So we would need to pay off that loan plus all of the monthly expenses and so on, about $40,000 per month. And it sounds like a lot, but I'll show you with a few calculations that it's really not that much given our congregation size. So there's two numbers that you need to memorize. Both are 500,000, but different reasons. One, we need to raise $500,000 for the down payment. So that's within the next month or so. We're really, if we're going to get this building, we need to raise $500,000 in the next month. The second $500,000, that's going to be our annual income. That's how much we need to raise on an annual basis moving forward if we are to secure the building. Because that would be about $40,000, $41,000 that we're bringing in monthly. And if we have 100 households, $41,000 per month is only $417 per month. So 100 households, each person only giving $417, that would cover all of our monthly expenses. So it sounds like a lot, but it's really not that much. If each household is giving $400 per month, we're able to reach what we need to. And again, I know sometimes it's weird to talk about tithing in church, but I think it's important because it's something we shouldn't shy away from. Christ himself wasn't above speaking about this. And tithing is a commandment. Like we spoke about in the sermon today, the rich young ruler was worried because he had many great possessions. And in Malachi chapter 3, this is the only time in the Bible that you see God saying, test me, or try me. He says, bring all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house, and try me now in this, says the Lord of hosts. if I will not open for you the windows of heaven and pour out for you such blessing that there will not be room enough to receive it. So we don't tithe so that we receive the blessing, even though we know God will bless us. That's not the reason we tithe. But this is the only time in the Bible that God says, try me or test me, like to test my goodness. And then in Mark 12, of course, the poor widow, Christ said, assuredly I say to you that this poor widow has put in more than all those who have given to the treasury, for they all put in out of their abundance, but she out of her poverty put in all that she had, her whole livelihood. So it's not about quantity. All of us should be given because that's a commandment from God, but it's not about quantity, it's about our hearts. Do we give as cheerful givers, or do we give begrudgingly? As far as methods, Zelle is the best method just because there are no fees. We get the full amount. So you can use donations.stmarinadfw@gmail.com and Zelle that way. Or you can use a check, or if you go to stmarinadfw.com, there's a PayPal link. So you have several options. And this is just a registration so we can have your information and send you all the emails and the links and so on. Does anyone have any questions? I know it's exciting news. You guys are all excited. So, just to give you a history, Sammy, Thomas, and a lot of people have been looking for the last 2 years, and no one has really found anything. Either it's too expensive, so there are a lot of good places. Like there's a very nice Catholic church that has a Sunday school building, and it's painted with Bible stories and so on. It's beautiful. But it's too far, and it's $8 million or $7 million. This is $4 million, so it's a much more reasonable price. The location is perfect. It's 20 minutes away from St. Mary, 20 minutes away from St. Pulpitier. It's on a lot of land, so we have room to build. Like we have a 10,000 square foot building, and there's room where the drive-through lanes are to build, for example, a 3-story Sunday school building, or to have sleeping quarters, 3-story Sunday school building like the one that St. Mary just built. Room to have a basketball court, indoor basketball court, very nice facilities, and still have enough parking. So it's a huge building with a ton of land in a perfect location for a good price. So it's exactly what we're looking for. So this is kind of an opportunity that's too good to pass up. But we need everyone's prayers and support, and through St. Marina's prayers and intercessions, God willing, we'll secure it. Any questions or comments? Sorry? No, we haven't made an offer. We have a couple of meetings next week with their team, the real estate agents and so on. But then we plan on putting the letter of intent subject to architect approval, of course. So we'll have maybe 45, 60 days after putting the letter of intent. Any other questions? Sorry? Do they have interest? So it depends. That's something we'll have to negotiate. The question is about interest rates. Interest rates are higher now, so it depends how we do our loans. But they might be offering some sort of lower interest rate just for us. Like they might help us out with seller financing, for example. Yeah. Yeah, we started a fundraising committee last week, and we're going to start sending out a few things, like Amazon Smile. We tried to sign up for the Facebook giving, but there's still a few things we have to square away with the IRS before we can qualify, for Facebook giving, like Giving Tuesday and so on. So we weren't able to do it this year, but now we're just waiting on one last document from the IRS that they need to send us, and then we can sign up through Facebook for Facebook giving. But there is a fundraising committee team now that they're going to be sending links and signing up for like Amazon Smile and Kroger and those community stores and stuff like that. That you can use St. Marina's link, and then that way we get a percentage as a church. Yeah.
But like you said, 500,000 is not a big number, and it's not a small number. But to prove to the bank that we can do it, are we going to try to go to maybe get commitment letters? Because we just need to show the bank that we can do it. So are we going to You know, that's part of the fundraising committee. I don't know.
Yeah, that is an idea that's floating around now. I know other churches use like pledge forms and,
Yes.
and things like that. So that's something we're going to look at. But the bank needs two things. Like they're looking at our history, of course. We have a 4-year history, which is good. They look at the last 3 years, but we're going to give them all 4 years because even though the first couple of years there was barely any money coming in because it was still a tiny community, it shows the growth because they use certain equations like how much money is coming in. But also one equation they look at is the slope of the curve, essentially the rate. So the first couple of years we were barely making anything than $10,000 on average last year. Now 17,000, and next year if we can bring it to 40,000, that would be good. So we need two things. We need in the next month, of course, to raise $500,000, which is a very difficult task, but God willing, we'll be able to do that. And then secondly, we need $500,000 coming in on an annual basis. But if you look at it on a household basis, that's only $417 per household, which is reasonable, unfortunately. Any other questions? Ready? No. All right, we're good to go for a minute.